Kilted
Balls.
balls.
Woo!
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Kilted Balls podcast. We're so glad to have you here.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
we're back from VeeCon, baby.
It was awesome.
Seriously, I think after thinking about it, it was better than last year.
I have to agree. I have to agree.
I'm feeling better. Like there were times last year I was like, yeah, I don't need to go to any sessions. And
Mhm.
this time, pretty much all the time, like if I missed a session, which only happened once, I felt like I was missing a session.
Yeah. Well, also there was a lot of stuff to do last year, of course, but if you're not missing any sessions, you're not seeing a lot of that other stuff. So
No.
there's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna miss this because I want to scope everything out.
Yeah, like the second day, you and I were hardcore, right? Like I didn't take any breaks for lunch. I just went bam, bam, bam. And
Mhm.
you did pretty much the whole time. You stopped for a quick hot dog, but
Mhm.
like you couldn't, like everything was like boom, which I liked, right? Like I
Yes.
liked it. Now the
Hmm.
problem was is trying to retain all of that information the whole time.
I am the
You're
great
retaining
retainer.
it.
I,
I mean,
that guy was
the
good.
the big things they were good. The big things were good. Um, those are in my brain, but I think there was a lot more that I learned that I've lost, and I'm
Yes.
hoping the note guy comes through with the notes, right?
Yeah. That was, I mean, I had missed that last year. If there, I mean, obviously there was
Mm-hmm.
notes, but I had missed it. And when we saw him, I was like, this seems kind of odd. But when someone said, oh, he's he's putting together everybody's notes, like
Yeah,
that's a pretty awesome thing. And he seemed like a really cool guy. We ended up talking to him a couple times.
I
So,
didn't. I knew about him last year, but I
okay.
didn't feel right taking the notes when I didn't contribute.
Okay.
Like it was kind of like he was like, "Yeah, if you contributed, you can get these notes."
Hmm.
Like let's all team up. And I was like, I didn't really do that, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
bother. But this year, like I didn't contribute. But I felt like he was more open to, yeah, grab these. So
Yeah.
you,
Well,
you know,
because he had even made a comment about like people who couldn't be here and this and that. So
right, right. And he was awesome. I haven't read his comic book yet, but I
I
probably
have
will.
not either. I would like to. It looked fun. But I did a book did come in. The I forget the title specifically, but Damon James.
Okay.
Wait, Damon. What's his last? Isn't it James? The Shark, the Shark's book for kids.
Oh, nice, nice. How is it?
I haven't read it yet.
Of course not. Of course not.
It was insane the other day and like today's been funky. So yeah, but it looks good and don't buy a copy for your house. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. Good to know.
You have people that fit that age with birthdays coming up.
Weird. Weird. So let's give people kind of a rundown of VCon. So if you didn't go, let's take people through how it kind of went. So day one was field day,
Hmm.
and they had speakers and stuff. And I'm bringing up the app so I won't mess up speakers' names.
Yeah.
But they had speakers and everything. But they basically had a whole field full of games and fun things to do.
Yes.
So lots of free stuff. I got to try some Mexican street corn for the first time. It was amazing. I ate like 5 pieces.
Yeah. That was good. They were putting, was it the chili Cheetos that was on it, or was it the flaming hot
It
Cheetos
was
that was on
flaming
it?
hot Cheetos, but you couldn't
Okay.
tell that it was flaming hot,
Yeah.
right?
Well, because they were passing out the chili ones, so I wasn't sure if it was those. I didn't actually have any, but
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I ate a lot before we got there, so I was not hungry at all.
Yeah, and it was quick to get in for me.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I got stopped like right at the metal detector, like they shut it down. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it was pretty quick getting in.
Hmm.
They were giving out free Frito-Lay products, free shoot, what's the name of that
Sorry,
drink? Free Starry to you.
which
They
is the
had
new Pepsi Slice,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, for sure. They had wine tasting, which we didn't go to.
Yeah. But some of the other games, they had a pickleball court set up there, which people were doing.
They had like a sport challenge with football,
Soccer.
soccer, and frisbee golf.
Mm-hmm.
They had Starry Pong, which I dominated. Starry Pong dominated.
What was Starry?
They had the big barrels, and you had to shoot the ball into the barrels.
Oh, yes,
It
yes,
was
yes. You did
me versus two others, and I dominated. Dominated.
You also dominated Connect Four, which was awesome by you.
Yes, if you followed our Twitter or if you've been following our YouTube channel, we did lots of minis, and I definitely took a picture of me dominating at Connect Four.
Mhm.
What did you beat me at something though, didn't you?
Well, the only thing that was a pure show of honest physicalness, which was the race through the bounce house.
We did
There's
have
no
a
luck.
bounce
No luck
house
like the
race.
Starry or mind games like the Connect Four.
What? Those are
Pure
pure basketball
physical
shots.
specimens.
It was amazing. I wish people were there to watch it, mainly
Uh-huh.
because you were in a kilt and they would have
Yeah.
gotten a heck of a show.
People would have gotten a little show if they could see in there.
For sure, for sure.
All
And they
I know
had,
is when I was crossing the finish line, Brian was screaming about his glasses or something. I
I
don't
was not, I was digging for my glasses. I wasn't screaming. Everybody thought I died, I think.
know.
They did have speakers, kind of like an open
Yes.
air amphitheater. We listened to one group of them and it was nice. And then the next group that was coming on was about ethics. And so I left. Like, I don't need to hear all about that.
Hmm.
And that kept us away from them for the rest of the time, even though there were like the Friends of V Friends came up and the
Hmm.
Sorcerer Scholars and stuff, and they had
Yeah.
modern athletes, but we kind of bounced. And then we went to dinner, went
Yep.
to a great little place in Indy called the Spaghetti Factory.
Yep.
And if you could guess, they serve spaghetti.
They
So
do. They do. And that's one that when we're there at Gen Con, there's usually a group in there doing thing like after hours. So I had actually been there and I was pretty happy with it. It was good.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then we came back to the field because they had Busta Rhymes.
That
And
was.
the coolest part about these concerts, my friends, and Busta Rhymes especially, is if Kilton and I had wanted to, we could have been touching the stage.
Hmm.
Like we could have been right up, hands on the stage, high-fiving Busta Rhymes. We are not those kind of people right now. So we let other people take those spots and we
Hmm.
sat like in the third row.
Hmm.
And the third row was perfect. And oh my gosh, Busta Rhymes kicked ass.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be good, but it was amazing, I think. It was.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. It was so good. Um, he's just awesome. His partner was awesome. We
Hmm.
stayed even longer to hear more of the stuff that they were playing.
Hmm.
It was just right on point and awesome. It was an awesome way to end the night,
Yeah. And
right?
it was
Like,
really cool. Anyone who does follow Twitter, they would have seen that it was the picture what's Gary thinking if you saw that one.
yeah,
Like literally that he was like just maybe 20 feet away from us, where it was the like in and outdoor to
yeah.
like go backstage or to come out to the crowd.
We
So he
we
was
could have gone and
popping
talked
out.
to him if we wanted to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Again, we're not quite that kind of people. So, but other
yeah,
people were, like running up to talk to him. So, in other
yeah.
words, the point being, it was a big ass concert, but very intimate,
Yes.
which was kind of cool. Like, it was
Hmm.
almost like if you've ever gone to a concert at a club, it was that kind of a feel,
Hmm.
except with thousands of people.
Hmm.
So, it was pretty much amazing.
Now, have you seen any like official numbers? I have
No,
not.
I have
Like how
not.
many tickets were used or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope, none. And then the next morning, you got to do something cool.
Yeah, there was a gift goat meetup. Well, it was a signing moment. So that was 7 to 8:30. So I got there super early. Actually, I got there before everybody because I was in the little room, and then I walked out of the room and came back in, and I was like, they were like, "Oh, you need your ticket." I was like, "Oh, okay." I got here before you were set up. But that was cool. I did not bring anything to have it signed. I did talk to Danny Cole for a little bit, which anyone following along, or if you're into Creature World, he's the artist behind Creature World. Cool guy. And Sloth was there. Got to talk to him for a little bit behind I Am Sloth. So, and then both of them were Gift Go artists as well. So
Right.
that was just cool to be able to hang out with them and to see all the, a lot of the goats who were at the shack thing were there, obviously, and to, kind of catch up and see them again and jibber jabber. So,
Yeah.
but I did not wait in line. I didn't bring anything. I hung out for a while, then I came back to the room so we could go get breakfast and stuff.
Yeah. And we kind of headed over to Lucas Oil Stadium. That's where
Hmm.
VeeCon was. And I did not feel like we were that early, but there was no line.
Hmm.
So we walked right up to the metal detector. We met our friend George, who
Hmm.
had some of the coolest tattoos, and we hung out with George for like 2 days. He was the security guard at our entrance.
Yep.
Um, and as always happens to us, we tend to be in the right spot at the right time. So the president of V Friends came over, and tried to enter
Hmm.
there, and we got to say hi to him. I shook his hand, laughed at him, and
Hmm.
D Rock, who's like the main media guy, he came over there and we talked to him. He took pictures of you because you're
Hmm.
creepy.
Yep.
Um, and he posted those and we talked to him for a while and that was awesome. So
Hmm.
again, just right spot, right time. Um, and we just kind of hung out and then they let us in. And when you go in, like Lucas Oil Stadium is all set up for V Friends, it looks amazing. And they had a slide to get you down to the floor. So you didn't
Hmm.
have to walk down the stairs to the floor. You could take a slide. That video, by the way, I think has like 3,000 views on
That's
YouTube.
awesome. It was pretty cool. So if you picture like if you're at any stadium, how it's got the top bowl and then it kind of goes down. So I would say it was like three-quarters of the way up, not in the top ring or the second ring,
Right.
but I mean that main ring, but still it was a giant slide.
It was a giant slide. And I'm
Mhm.
sure people have been like, ooh, I wish I could just slide down from here or jump down.
Mhm.
We got to do that.
Yeah, it was so
So,
fun.
and multiple times, right? Like
Uh-huh.
there were a few times where I'm like, oh, I got to come back down. Oops.
Oh. Yeah, because if you could catch it with no line, I mean, there's usually a small line, but if you're
Yeah.
catching with no line, that's like, okay, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty amazing. And the poor people working the slides having to climb up those stairs.
Because it has you had the
The
burlap
burlap.
sack that you had to climb in. So yeah, there were people bringing the sacks back up.
They're bringing them up.
It was
And
hilarious.
and we got into their sack. So it was
Hmm.
nice. I was like,
Yep.
hey, thanks for that sack. So, you know.
So one of the awesome things. So Gala Music was there. They were sponsors, and they had a recording studio set up inside there, which I think was super awesome. So they had 10 artists, I think it was 10 or 12 artists that could record and kind of put things in. And
Yes.
then people were voting on them. And I guess there were a couple of them that were on stage the last night. It wasn't just one. I thought Gina said there were like three different opening bands. So
Really?
that did like, three, four songs
Nice.
which is pretty cool because that's one thing about gala music. Like it does have some people like you've heard of, all this and that, but it does have people like, where it's funded by us who are listening to it and who are using it,
I need
which
to
is
look at that more because I haven't looked at the Gal music at all.
okay.
So, but now I'm registered in two accounts.
There you go.
So,
Yeah, they had the sweet color changing shirts like you
oh
touch the
yeah,
heat.
it was so funny. The funniest part about the color changing shirts is if you are wearing an undergarment, that doesn't get as hot as the rest of you, and they were changed by your heat.
I
Oh, that was terrific.
was
So
just
funny.
looking at that picture again.
I got home and Amy was laughing about it to the girls. She like saw the shirt. She's like, "Oh my gosh, girls, look at this shirt!" And she's like trying to touch it, and it was blue because we're
Uh-huh.
in Michigan. I'm like,
Yeah.
when I bought this, it was pink.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Yeah, it kind of makes your boobs stand out." I was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah." So
Yeah,
that
it
was
does.
awesome.
Yeah, lids was there, which was super cool, where you could
Yeah.
pick hats. They had some hats already made, but some that they were embroidered. Oh, actually, here.
I was gonna say, do you have yours? I don't have mine handy. Look at
So I
that.
got none of the characters that I have were options, but this one very deep, but it is be the bigger person, Gary B. So I thought of it like as a quote on my hat into NFTs.
Nice.
And if you notice on the side, there are some sweet pins too. These were one of the popular things at the VeeCon, little pins. So and I didn't have this one with me, but I did put it on when I got home.
Nice.
The
I
the
do
one
have to
blade for
say the
chest.
V Friends 2 are way cuter and way more marketable. Like, look at your
They're
patient panda. That looks
they're
way
they're
better right
growing
there.
on me. The
Yeah.
second, yeah, the patient panda is fun.
Hmm. Just way cuter. Way cuter. So then the second day starts with Gary V doing the keynote, and his keynote is him and his brother and his dad.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wanted to start this with family. And just as always, Gary Vee is an inspiring speaker. And it was inspiring hearing from his dad, and his son was super cool. But then what I thought was like a real game changer was, how do you say his name? Jesse Itzler.
Itzler, yeah.
And he's one that I'm really excited about the notes for.
Oh my
So
gosh.
he was freaking amazing.
He was there last year and he was really good
Yes.
last year.
You can find his speech on YouTube from last year.
Okay.
I found it today looking for the one from this year.
Yeah, the one from this year, and that's a big thing about it. Yes, and one thing we didn't talk about, what we talked about before, was that it looked like it was going to be more business oriented, and it
Yes.
definitely was. Definitely more business and motivation oriented. There was still a lot of Web3
Yes.
stuff going on,
Though NFT was a
artists.
bad word. NFT
Yes,
was
it
a
seemed
bad
like
word.
that. But yeah, his speech was so good, and another time when people are talking about the 100-mile runs, and it keeps on popping up in my life. So I think I might need to make some changes. I always think,
Well, you know what? The Dances with Dirt has an ultra, and I've thought about doing it before. We could do Dances with Dirt, run the Pato together. It'd be a good time.
okay.
It's in September. Come on up.
Oh, no, it's cold in September up there.
It can be super hot or cold. It depends. I've
Mhm.
had it both at Dances with Dirt. So
Yeah.
I've had it where it's been 80, and I've had it where it's been like 40, which honestly you want the 40 when you're running. So
Yeah, that's true. Although there is a ultra in San Diego. I guess it's not the loop and it's not very big,
mhm.
but you come up and when you go around, like you're looking at the ocean, like that the whole like strip down is like a
Oh,
road that runs towards the ocean, then you turn and you come up back around. David Goggins' book, he talks about it.
that is
The-
awesome. The point of
oh, go ahead.
Jesse's speech was, if you had to sum up your life on a napkin, how would you sum up your life? And it started with a thing from Gandhi, and it was basically like, my life is my example or my rules. So I thought
Mhm,
that's really cool. And then instead of going with what's on your napkin, like he did that, but he basically said, here are my 5 rules for life. And I don't remember all of them. They were super cool.
mhm,
The big takeaway from this, and it's interesting because I already had a couple discussions about it, was Gary Vee had said, love is undefeated. Like,
mhm,
show empathy, show compassion. Love is always going to win.
mhm,
And then he got up and he was like, time is undefeated.
mhm.
And it was really interesting because, on one hand, you hear time is undefeated and you're thinking, like, okay, that means you've got to go, 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 go. But it wasn't that way, because there were
Mhm.
so many people, including him, who said, you need to take breaks, you need to rest, you need to
Yes.
recoup. So it wasn't about go, 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 but it was more like kind of the concept don't put off till tomorrow what you could do today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like being productive with your time that you have, but like almost like a work hard, play hard is what,
Yes.
is the feeling that I got from it.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Totally that vibe. And it was like, go all in. Like if you're going to go do something, go all in. And this is something like you and I have talked about that I have trouble with. And I don't know if I care necessarily. I really wrestle with it, but I'm always the idea person. I don't finish a lot of things. I come up with a lot of things, great
Mm-hmm.
ideas, earth shattering ideas, but I don't want to do those ideas. I want somebody else to do them. Right. And I'm like, I've given people so many story ideas. I'm like, oh, I see you write novels. Here's like 5 novels you could write. And they're like, why don't you write these? These are great ideas. And I'm like, I don't want to write them. I just want somebody else to write them. They can get all the credit, all the money. I just want to read the finished product.
Oh, so can I interrupt super fast?
Please do.
I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up today, but since you did, so I have a story in my mind. I would say it's been there at least 5 years, a kid's story.
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of it's mapped out in my mind. I want to say I've even started writing it down here and there, but never
Mhm.
like sat down and wrote it. Even
Yes.
went to the point where it's like reaching out to people like, hey, do you care if I use this name for this character in this children's book I'm gonna write? So like where that's like that serious in my mind. So
Yeah.
driving home, we're talking, both Gina and I are super excited. We're talking, and it pops into my head, I could easily check, I need to look through the VFriends to see like how close I can get for the characters that I have in mind.
Mhm.
But to have those characters be VFriends and to send them to Andy, Gary, and say, hey, are you guys interested in this? I can publish this without VFriends being in it. You know, could send both ideas. I just have to change names.
Right.
Or if you would like to, go ahead.
Nice.
So yeah,
That is awesome.
super excited about it.
I'm so glad you brought up Gina being excited. And when I got home, Aim was like, how was it? And I'm like, it was amazing. It was so cool. I didn't tell her I was coming home. So she was like super surprised.
Oh, good.
Like when I got home, she's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, well, this is the reason I didn't tell you. Um, but she was like, how was it? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so inspired. You're so inspired. And she's like, how about Gina? And I'm like, I don't know. I go, she had a good time. I go, for sure, she had a good time. She enjoyed herself.
Hmm.
I go, I honestly don't know if she got anything out of it at all or if she was just like along for the ride. I,
Super inspired,
yeah. And I go,
I
she
would
never
say.
said anything. Like she
Hmm.
never said, oh my gosh. Like she was just taking it all in. But
Hmm.
so then you were talking about it earlier about how, like yesterday, how excited she was and whatever. And then just now it came up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. So she was inspired by
Hmm.
all of it.
She was like, obviously Tristan to be able to do something like that, Carmen to be able to see the whole thing, like she was like saying these things like, oh, if you could have been there the whole time, this would have been like super good for you. Now, who knows if they're ready to hear some of those things or act on them, but half the people there aren't ready to hear them or act on them.
Everybody's in
So
different spots on their
yeah,
journey.
everybody's in different spots. But for myself, I think back, shoot, when I was that age, if I would have been exposed to that, like that could have been amazing. But yeah, she's very excited and inspired, I would say.
That's awesome because she definitely wasn't externally showing that.
Hmm.
She wasn't not showing it. Like she wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is dumb.
Yeah, yeah.
But she wasn't like, oh, like I loved it. Like that's not how
Hmm.
she was rolling.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear that. I'll have to tell Amy that she was like pumped.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, super pumped.
yay. And it was that kind of conference, people. Like
Hmm.
you got pumped. Like when Jesse was done, he spent it felt like to me the vast majority of his talk on self-talk. And I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, that was just in our podcast. Like
Hmm.
how powerful that self-talk is. And
Hmm.
and he made it even like bigger.
Hmm.
Like I'm like, he's like, tell yourself that. And I'm like, oh, I need to do that. I need to be like, I already have good self-talk,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like my mom tells people all the time, one of the things I do in my teaching is, and I haven't done it for a while and I need to get back at it. And it's so funny because another speaker said the same thing. We got
Mm-hmm.
to hear from the number one motivational speaker in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when we saw his name and that he was the number one motivational speaker in the world, we were laughing because we're
Mm-hmm.
like, that we said, someone was like, oh, I wonder what makes him the number one motivational speaker in the world. I'm like, because he said he's the number one. I'm like, I go, that's how that works. There's no metrics to measure that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get into his session and he literally said, I'm the number one motivational speaker in the world. And he goes, because I say I am. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, baby. Yeah, that's what
Mhm.
it's about. And
Yeah.
so hearing that and hearing Jesse talk about that, I'm like, I've gotten away from it because in my teaching, what I would do is every time people would come in, I'd be like, you students are so lucky because you have literally the best teacher in the world as your instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, really? And I'm like, really, really? I go, I'm easily the greatest ever. And they'd be like, wow, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling my mom that, and she came back like a month later. She goes, I tell everybody that. And I'm like, what? And she's like, that you tell everybody you're the greatest teacher in the world. And I'm like, you need people to know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, and it doesn't matter whether it's real or not. I go, when I go to the
Israel.
surgeon, when I go to the doctor or a surgeon, I don't want to hear that they were last in their medical class.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to tell me they're the best doctor ever.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yes, that's why I'm here, because you're the best one ever. I don't want to hear that they're not the best. Like, oh, that guy down the hall is just good. I
Yeah.
had somebody say that recently with my daughter, like, oh, well, you could go here or here. They're all pretty much the same. I'm like, don't tell me that. Don't tell me
That's
that.
not where I want to go.
No, I'm like, I want to know who the best person is. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to double check you. You
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead and tell me that guy down the hall is the best. We'll take her there.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I care about. And
Yeah.
it's funny because they're like, for her, who do you want for PT? I'm like, this guy. Well, that's your athletic trainer. I'm like, he's the best in the state. And they're like, really? Okay, then you should take her there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how the hell would I know? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
metric do you think I'm measuring my athletic trainer to know he's the best in the state?
Uh-huh.
But even they're like, oh yeah, he's clearly the best. You should go to him. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
like it doesn't matter. The words, the spoken word, that's the part that's important.
Yes.
The spoken word is so important. So if you want to be the best teacher, tell people you're the best teacher, including yourself. If you have to
Mm-hmm.
look in the mirror, it sounds hokey, but say I'm the best teacher. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved it because one of the things he did in one of his races was, yeah, I don't get tired. It's a miracle. I don't
Mm-hmm.
get tired. And what did you and I used to say all the time to people? We don't get sick.
We don't get sick or hurt. Remember,
Yes.
we always said that about our ankles too. I've never twisted my ankle.
I tell people all the time, oh my gosh, I almost fell down. And they're like, oh yeah, that happens. I go, not to me. I don't fall. I said it to a friend, like I think last year, I was like, I don't fall. And they're like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, no, it's for real. I don't fall. That's dumb. Why would you ever fall? That's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fall. And you're sitting there at home going, that doesn't really make a difference, does it?
It does.
Bitch, yeah, it
Mhm.
does. It makes a difference.
Makes a
Right?
huge difference.
Tell yourself that. And I tell my athletes all the time. I go, don't give yourself reasons to lose. Don't give yourself excuses or reasons to lose. Give yourself reasons to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired today. Don't do that. Don't put that in your brain. Like,
Yeah.
I'll have kids who will be like, coach, I'm feeling really sick today. And I'm like, you shut the hell up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, I thought you should know. I'm like, no. I go, you don't get to be sick. You
Mm-hmm.
can be sick at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m.,
Mhm.
you can be as sick as you want. But until 6 p.m., you are amazing. You're awesome. And you're rock solid and you feel the best you've ever felt.
Yep.
And they're like, I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm like, say it for real. And they're like,
Mhm.
I feel the best. I'm like, you feel the best. I
Yeah.
go, 6 o'clock, you can feel like shit. I don't care anymore.
Yep.
But until then, you feel amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's 20 years of my life. I couldn't get sick.
Right? And now
Good
look
to
at
be
you.
sick. I know. My belief went away somewhere.
You
I don't know
stopped
why,
saying
but
the words.
I did. Darn COVID.
Man. Um, I tell people right now, like, speaking of COVID, like Amy was like, "Oh, I think we're all getting COVID." I'm like, "You think so?" And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you want to test?" I'm like, "I don't need to test." Why
Mm-hmm.
not? I'm like, "Because I don't get COVID."
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't get COVID. I'm like, I'm immune to that.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, weird. I haven't got COVID yet."
Mm-hmm.
So, right. And she
Yeah.
gets mad about that. But I'm like, you got to speak that stuff. You got
Mm-hmm.
to speak it. You got to tell people. And more importantly, you have to tell yourself, right?
Yes.
Because if you're telling yourself other stuff, like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, you will be tired. I said it today, right? I told you, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I ran out of steam today. And I remember the moment it happened. Like, I sat down and I was like, phew, I'm out of steam. Clunk.
Yep.
Whereas if I had sat down and been like, nope, I've got more to do, I'm getting after it, I would have gotten after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So people be aware of the self-talk. So that was that. And obviously you can tell it fired us up because I'm like ranting and raving, right?
I mean it was super awesome.
My kiddos were all excited that I got to hear Young Gravy.
Oh,
They're like,
nice.
"Oh, you got to see Young Gravy. How was that?" And I'm like, "Are you talking about the young guy who likes older women?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I guess he was cool, like the
And
same way Hyde is cool." Like, I'm like, he's totally Hyde from the '70s show.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
I didn't even
He's
think of
totally
that.
Hyde.
I didn't even think of that. It's so funny.
So I mean, he was kind of cool. And then we missed the next one, which was Women at the Top. Not intentionally. I think I was hungry or something. I don't remember.
Hmm.
I didn't mean to leave. But then we got to hear from the hundreds.
Yeah. I started that book today. It's really good so far.
Oh man, the hundreds was so interesting. So that's a street brand, and there were other people on stage, but really Bobby from the hundreds kind of
Mhm.
dominated.
And Adam at that he they did the Adam Bomb Squad
Yes,
for the
yes.
NFTs.
I mean, it was great. And
His book is NFTs are a scam and NFTs are the future.
yeah, and you got it.
I got it on Audible,
Oh,
so I
I'm
started
so
listening to it.
excited. So where did we go from there? We went to well, we saw the Snowfro who does squiggles and Betty and Corey. Really, I wanted to see Corey Van Loo, which is funny because I follow Betty on social media. She just got doxxed last year. For those of you who don't know, dox means letting people know who you really are,
Hmm.
right? And Corey Van Loo, who's an artist that we've both enjoyed and liked. And so they were talking about art and tech, and they were super cool. And we got
Hmm.
to hear about AI a little bit. Um, and by the way, this is still just all on Friday, right? Like
Yeah, this
on
is still the
day
first day.
one. And God, where did we go from there?
I think we
We
walked around for a little bit after one of those.
well, we went and saw the reinventing charity guy. So
Oh
they
yeah.
supplied water the whole time we were there. Even when we were on the field, they had these big water trucks for us. But they had the guy who did cripe, I don't know. He's providing water all across the world.
I like them a lot, and it is I have it open on my phone here, so I can still go to their site and look at it some more. Um, Charity Water.
Charity Water. People, check out Charity Water. They're doing awesome stuff. He gave a brilliant talk. I thought it was
Hmm.
super awesome. We didn't go see John Taffer. I wanted to. He's on TV as the bar rescue. I thought that'd be
Oh
interesting,
yeah,
but we didn't make it over there. Who else did we see? I'm like just scrolling through all the different things, right?
for sure.
We got to see Drew Barrymore. We got great video of her. We had moved by this point right near the line. And so she hugged the guy next to us.
Hmm.
That's how close Drew was to us. We're like, we love you. She was amazing,
Hmm.
right? She was so real on stage and so good on stage. Um, then we heard from another CEO, and then we heard from Neil Patrick Harris, who again was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He was so good, I felt.
Yes, he was awesome.
And then we heard from Kevin Plank, who's the founder of Under Armour.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because our school is sponsored by Under Armour. And I was just talking to somebody because I don't tend to buy it because it's expensive. But I was just saying, I have these warm ups that the team bought me for a present, I think in like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
It's 13 years old. I'm still wearing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is an amazing thing. I'm like, and it was Under Armour. So this year I'm outfitting my whole team in Under Armour
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, that's just legitimate. But he was really cool. And then we saw Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you I had a funny story about Crocs?
What's that?
Have you seen
Thanks.
Idiocracy?
Yeah,
Okay, I have not.
I think he's getting into something.
I'm supposed to see Idiocracy. People, I've heard it's awesome. You should all see it. I did not.
That's
Um,
shocking. If you haven't seen it by time we're there, oh,
I used to have it on tape forever, waiting to see it, and I never did. What's with the shoe?
Banks was chewing it. Hopefully the other one's not dead. She
So
put her shoes out.
in Idiocracy, they were trying to find things that were futuristic
Mm-hmm.
but super super dumb because that's kind of the premise that people were going to do dumb stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went and they found this shoe company that was just starting. And like they brought it to the producers, like, we're going to outfit everybody in these shoes. And they're like, nobody would be stupid enough to wear these shoes. And they're like, that's what makes it brilliant is
Uh-huh.
nobody would. And so we can say that's how stupid they are, that in the future they would wear these stupid ass shoes. And it was Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch the movie, they're all wearing Crocs before Crocs was a thing.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because that movie's pretty old.
It's super old, and now we are. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the future they were talking about, and we are all wearing Crocs.
Yeah.
And like I saw them on stage wearing Crocs, and I was like, I'm gonna buy me some Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, I bought Crocs only because I saw some of those little gibbets that were D&D gibbets. So I was like,
oh,
oh, I need to get a pair of Crocs. So I have a Beholder and I have a
I'm totally gonna get Crocs. I'm gonna gibbet the hell out of them because I think I have a pair of Crocs, but I want even more.
Cube. Yeah.
And so that was the end of the speakers on Friday. And then we got to hear a comedian, and he was hilarious, totally not politically correct,
Mm-mm.
right?
Yeah.
And we got to go faster now. But then we went into Saturday, and like I already said, Kilted and I hit Saturday hard. We hit every session. It started with
Yeah.
Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow, I was like, yeah, I don't think people are going to come. I don't think they're going to want to hear his religious message. And holy shit, he was amazing.
He was really good.
He was amazing. And I loved it. His big concept, he talked about a lot of stuff. A lot of the same themes kept recurring. But the thing that I really loved about him was he talked about passion, and that if you're passionate about something, that demands suffering. That's what it
Yes.
means. You can't be passionate about something and not suffer for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, be careful what you're passionate for. He goes, I was passionate about football, and I think that was bad that I suffered so much for football instead of other stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh, people, we are almost out of time. We're going to have to do a
Mm-hmm.
follow up, but Saturday was effing amazing. Effing
Yes,
amazing.
it was. Yes, it
So,
was.
yeah.
Mm.
Any last words,
I was
Kilted?
looking at the time. I was like, oh no. No, thank you for listening. Make it this far. We appreciate you. You're probably already liked and subscribed to it. Please do.
Yes, like and subscribe. Hang out with us some more, and we'll give you some updates. This is Ballbuster signing off.
Get the Dragon's Air. Love you all.